Hello there, a bit too early. So my name is Fionn Dobbin, and I'm an industrial designer. I studied industrial design at the University of Arts in Berlin. I think during the last 10 years, I've been working for 50+ brands around the world as an inventor, concept designer, creative advisor, from huge, massive projects like which you can see here, the BASF Roadshow, where we had a budget of more than $5 million, to small little funny invention of mine, like a bicycle creating bubbles, where I actually took two things which I think children really love. Children love bicycles and they love bubbles, and I combined them. Yeah? So the way of doing this is very, very diverse, but actually I like this so much I have a little video just showing you how I'm testing this. Yeah? So it's all self-made. When you drive it, it creates bubbles on the back. It's too big, so I can't drive it, so I have to be pushed out. If you have one of them, you're the king of the playground. Yeah? This is cooler than any iPhone, iPod out there. Yeah? Oh, you can order it over my company. Easy, easy. Yeah? So I've been working in various fields, and at the same time I'm an entrepreneur, so I started several companies during the last years. And I will not talk about all of them, because if I do, you think I'm a completely madman. But you can say, on the end, I do what I want. And that's mainly what I do. One of the companies which I started just half a year ago, it's called Not Perfect Education. And it's a joint venture of the most influential marketing agency in the Baltics, called Not Perfect, and myself. It's an educational agency, and our goal is to teach the unteachable. That's what we are doing. So we teach all the things which you actually can't teach, such as leadership, creativity, and entrepreneurship. It's a little bit like teaching how to eat with a knife and a fork. It's something you can't really learn from reading a book. It would be a terrible, boring book if you would like to understand how to use a knife and a fork and how to eat a sausage. Yeah? That would be written then, you take your knife or take your fork and you target your sausage, and then with a certain kind of angle and degree, and it would be pages and pages of boredom. So you can't really do it. So the only way you can do it is through doing it. You have to turn on your inner Nike shoe. The problem is that you always look like this on the end. Yeah? And this is kind of how we are teaching. But of course, there are also more sophisticated ways of eating food. Yeah? And for something like this, you do need a book. And so we're always trying to bring the people from here to there, but it still involves a lot of that. Yeah? And then, on the other hand, we are doing handcrafted workshops. So in the last half of the year, we had the luck that we got customers such as Cosnova, the fastest growing cosmetic company on the planet, biggest in Europe, Granini, biggest juice producer, working a lot with the think tank of Dr. Mohamed Yunus, the Peace Prize Nobel winner, who invented microcredits, fighting against poverty, and many forths. And another company which I created, it's called Mamu. It's a fashion company where we are working with mothers. Mothers who have to combine childcare and earning money, but who can't find a job due to the lack of work, due to the problem of combining through the time work and childcare. And so what we're doing is we are giving them textiles, we're training them how to produce fashion accessories. They go home, and whenever the children are sleeping or playing or the mamas have time, they produce the fashion accessories for us. Then we buy the products from them, and then we place them into stores, and all the money we're making always goes back into the company. So we are not money-driven, we are cost-driven. Last year we had more than 30 people working for us. We work with the best designers we can get, best photographers, best models. So the models we are working with are the same which also Prada and Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana and so forth are working with. We have some of the hottest designers who have been collaborating with us. And during the last year, we pivoted from a fashion label into a production company. So we only now produce for other companies. So this skips the beautiful work of doing castings and fashion shoots and product development, but we have more impact and we are more successful in this what we're doing. And I think the big question is for me, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I do so many things, and really what drives me. And to explain you what drives me, I want to go a little bit back into history. And in 1920, Herbert Hoover, the president of the USA, he was holding a lecture in front of madmen and marketeers and said, your goal is to turn all the consumers into constantly seeking happiness machines. We have to promise them happiness over buying our products. Yeah? Because the more the people are buying, the more we are successful. So consumption suddenly was seen as a patriotic act. Yeah? And then worldwide, suddenly, credits were available, everyone could get a consumer credit, and this was the start of hyperconsumption. The outcome is, for example, Cyber Monday, or it's the Christmas sales and Black Friday. Yeah? So really the shopping madness started with this, you promise people to get happiness when you buy a product. And we could really say that shopping became a new religion. You see people queuing in front of an Apple store to get the newest products. In Germany, we have a TV show. It's called Der Preis ist heiß, where you have to guess the price of the product. And that's what the whole TV show is about. And the people are buying, meanwhile, so much that in the USA, I think the people had to buy additional 2.3 billion square meters storage space just to storage their really needed, necessary products. In the UK, 37% of all the money is being spent on shopping. The average lady in UK has 27 bags and is buying every 3 months a new one. And this has not only led to huge personal debts of the people getting bankrupt, people having no money anymore to pay rent and so forth, but also the pollution of the planet. It leads to poverty, it leads to wars, and we could really say that our happiness is founded on a terrible injustice. Yeah? And in China and in Asia, hyperconsumption just has begun. And suddenly we have all those words sneaking into our vocabulary, like downgrading and social consumption and social business and green miles and so forth. And we can see at the moment we really have a historic shift to good. Yeah? And suddenly those fringe movements, I remember in the 80s, yeah, in Berlin, when my mother brought me to an Echo store. It was a little freaky kind of place. And nowadays you have these huge shopping temples where you can buy eco goods in the USA and in Germany and so forth. And I think the Great Recession which we had gave the opportunity to people to reconsider their choices and the way they are living. Yeah? And it's a little bit like waking up after a big party, like a crazy night out where you say, oh my God, what have I done? And this is also happening to the consumers. They're asking themselves, what have we done? And they understand the impact they're having. And suddenly you see all those companies popping up which are actually dealing with this topic I was talking about. It's like 8 years ago when I was talking with young entrepreneurs, most of the companies were money-driven. Yeah? There was a goal behind the company to make lots of money, to create a new app so you can do and sit on the sofa and do fuck all. This was kind of the new goal of this. But suddenly there's all those companies and they really want to be part of society shaping energy. And I think we live in the age of punishment, where the consumer really understands the power he has through purchasing products, through consuming. And if you are running a company who doesn't care about society, you will be destroyed. There will be a shitstorm in the internet and you will disappear as fast as you came up there. So it's really important. Here, a wonderful platform, a friend of mine, Christian Vanissette, he created one of the biggest youth movements on the planet. Makes sense. They have impacted the lives of hundreds of thousands of people, where people post a challenge, a social cause, and you can help those group to solve this cause. Another case, this is Henrik Hase, also a friend of mine. He's the most influential food blogger in Germany. If he posts about his visit, secret visit at Burger King, yeah, Burger King is in panic because he can destroy companies through the way he writes about them. And he created a butchery, because we live in a time where you buy yourself a burger and you think it's beef, but actually you're eating horse. Yeah? And he's fighting against how you treat animals, what is inside the food, and so he created this open butchery, where you see everything which has happened there. It's completely transparent, completely from glass, completely ethical. There's companies, also from a friend of mine, a coffee place called Perfect Day, and they grow the coffee in the wild nature, in the forests. And the more coffee places they're building up, the more rainforests they're buying. And they're on the airport in Frankfurt, Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof, so it's a beautiful, very successful company in Germany. And then there's Misfits. 40% of all the vegetables we are growing are being left on the fields because they look so ugly you can't sell them in stores. My friends think they look beautiful, and they sell them very successful because I think this looks cool. Yeah? Or Pans to Poverty, similar like the Butchery. It's a company from Ben Ramsden from the UK, where he explains exactly what happens with the money. He explains exactly where something is being grown and agricultured and so forth. And of course, you're all thinking, all right, this sounds really cool, but how can I create such a company myself? Yeah? And I will explain you this by giving you a little case how I developed a toilet. We'll talk now about toilet. Normally, my lectures, my little presentations are not suitable for lunchtime, so I hope there's a few lectures between me and lunchtime, because now it gets a little bit vulgar, partly. And I think what is the biggest driver for innovation and the biggest driver to be part of society shaping energy is empathy. And in the design thinking, it always starts with empathy. It's about observing people, going in there, understanding what's their pains and gains, and so understanding how you can create gain achievers and pain relievers. It's about defining what's their problem. It's about researching the status quo of the question, ideating it. It's about building a prototype and getting feedback. And I was once sent to a lecture from Jack Sim. He's the founder of the World Toilet Organization, and he talked about the 2.6 billion people worldwide who don't have any access to sanitation. He talked of the millions of people who are dying every year because they don't have access to sanitation. I was once in Delhi, and I asked a little boy to show me his toilet, and he brought me to a hill which was covered in feces. Yeah? And he didn't have enough money to buy shoes. Somebody gets ill in the village, everyone else is getting ill. And of course, I thought, okay, I want to change this. I want to develop something which is interesting, which kind of helps these people. And then you have a lot of challenges. People live in cramped living conditions. There's no sewage system. People have $1 income. Yeah, there's a lack of water, and it's always been like that. Yeah, so if you practice open defecation, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and you have $1 a day, why should you buy a toilet? You could go around and you could tell everyone, hey, listen, there's infection illnesses. It's important also that your daughters go to school, because there are a lot of schools who don't have access to sanitation. But then you have to educate nearly 1/3 of the world population. And so one thing we knew in the beginning, it has to be a toilet unplugged, a toilet which you just can put you in the living room and you use it like this. But yeah, the problem is, if you have a toilet unplugged, something we just put in your living room, in our case, it had to be a squatting toilet because we went to the Indian market first. How do you prevent that somebody using the toilet and then taking the feces and just pouring it straight into their neighbor's garden? How you can make someone voluntarily take the feces and bring it from A to B? And this was the big question, how to bring the shit from A to B. This is what we had to solve. And we started doing a kind of research. And this is a slide. Yeah, it's a slide. And most of them are famous designers, meanwhile. And they asked me, Fionn, stop showing this around. This is, by the way, this is Jörg Hölsche from Studio Hausen. Should check his webpage. Yeah, here you see him shitting on a piece of paper. You won't see that again, I promise you. Yeah? And which was interesting, all the research we have done, all the designs we have done, in the beginning they were worth nothing because we didn't work together with the customer. We didn't work with them, we were working in laboratory. And the food position, all the ergonomic research, you can see here on the one slide, Germany. But in India, people are using toilets in a total different way. I started to work with paper prototypes. My professor saw them, Fionn, you will never get anywhere. You have to become one of those 2.6 billion people yourself. And that's what I did. It's called prototyping for empathy. I stopped using my toilet at home. I had my whole flat full of toilet prototypes. Some of them were smell-proof, some weren't smell-proof, some of them functioned, some didn't function. It was a pretty lonesome time because my friends stopped visiting me, and I thought that's rather disgusting. And the main part, we had also some experiments with chemicals and shit and stuff like this. And the main part was a shit transportation tank. And it allows you to transport up to 50 kilos of shit in a very, very easy manner. Yeah, it's very important. And this thing I remember very, very well because I was developing in my university, and I went into my office, and I had this container. You know, normally when you present something in university, you put it on the table, everyone comes close and gives smart-ass answer how to make it better. When I put my prototype on the table, everyone disappeared. Yeah? Important phone call, I have to go to the toilet, see you tomorrow, I'm feeling very ill. And I went into my office, and I banged with my foot against it, and the whole thing exploded. in my face. I got covered in shit. I've never seen so fast 300 students leaving a university building because the smell in there was really, really disgusting. And it was a good marketing campaign because there was a huge queue of people wanting to see my master thesis presentation. So we had two parts, one part which stays at home, one part which helps you to transport the shit, but we still didn't know how to bring the shit from A to B. We made it that it's usable with elephants and tuk-tuks and so forth. So we did a research in India trying to understand how could the product of desire look like. And the biggest question was still how to bring the shit from A to B. And then we came across an NGO called Sulab International, and they had biodigesters, and biodigesters turn any kind of organic material into gas. And gas is energy, energy is money. And there we had the solution. We developed a toilet where the people get paid for pooping. So every one of you is producing around 300 grams of shit per day. That's so much energy that you can run your iPod for 4 hours. And meanwhile, there's a company, it's called XRunner. And well, in the moment, they just got voted also, Forbes magazine, 30 under 30, something like this. I'm over 30, in case you're wondering. So it's good that I stepped out. And the moment actually the toilet exploded, that was the moment when I went from shit to fashion. And I think it's very, very, very important nowadays that we not only develop profit-driven companies, but that we develop companies which have a real impact on society. Thank you very much.